Well, first talk of the day. How are we doing, guys? Good. Okay, so we're going to start. We have an amazing panel today. We have a very interesting conversation that you probably, if you're here, is because you already have some of the basic knowledge of what we're talking about. But I'd like to have a very, very short introduction of what is interoperability? Like, what does it mean for the metaverse? No? So I would like to use a very, very, very simple example. So imagine we go online, we buy an NFT of a very, very nice picture. And then we would want to use that same picture in different platforms, right? So those platforms should be allowing me to do that. Let's say I buy an NFT and I want to have it on the shirt of my avatar, or I want to have it on my living room in my own house, or I actually want to have it in the big poster in one of my concerts, right? So these are three different contexts of different platforms that we would like to be able to use that, right? There's one of the common beliefs that, one of the common misunderstandings of this world of interoperability, which is that it's either all of nothing, no? But there are different layers of interoperability. So the first one, and most basic one, could be, for example, connectivity. In the past, we used to be used, for example, to playing video games, everyone in their own house, separate. Nobody was connected, right? Now we've created systems that allow us to connect each other and play together, right? So that could be a first level of interoperability, which we have kind of solved with the internet. Another level of that could be, for example, the presentation level. You could have that same NFT displayed in different ways in different platforms. So for example, imagine you have, for example, a hat, and you buy a hat for your avatar, and in another platform, that hat is not basically probably visible, but you can still store it and visualize it and see that you actually own it. No? These are different levels of interoperability that we're going to explore much further today. And again, we don't need to have all of them, or do we? No? This is what we're going to have to discuss today. And I'd like to have basically a first introduction, if you don't mind, in order of your corresponding projects. Please, Frito, you're welcome to start.
So thank you very much. Thank you to South Summit. My name is Miguel Ángel Fito. I'm CEO of Utopian Metaverse. We are the first Spanish metaverse in regarding interoperability inside. This is something that we will discuss because this is really important. Our goal is for the users, creators, and brands to build their own community inside the metaverse. So we will give lots of options for the creators and for all the users to build their own community. This is our main goal, and to make it really easy for the users and creators to start building their own community inside the metaverse. This is really important for us, with no stoppers, no technical, and no necessary knowledge from technical stuff. This is really important also. And okay, we've been doing this for 2 years now, and we hope that we will give a really big platform in, 2 months maximum.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. We're looking forward to see it.
Yeah.
So, Sam, can you give us a short introduction of yourself and the project?
Hi, thanks for having me here. I'm Sam Hamilton. I'm the creative director of Decentraland Foundation. Decentraland is an open source metaverse owned by its users. The project was started in 2015 and launched in 2020. And now we're probably the most popular metaverse with about 500,000 monthly active users.
Great, thank you. So Kai, could you give us an introduction of your project?
Yeah, I'm Kai. I'm the CEO at Linking Realities. What we're doing is providing tools to manage the digital identity in the metaverse, and we are focused on creating this interoperability through avatars or through identities.
Mm-hmm. Great. So one of the first questions that we had for today was understanding, okay, so why is interoperability crucial for the metaverse? And is it? What do you guys think?
I think Sam, that is the more experienced now.
Okay, I remember a time when the internet wasn't interoperable. I remember when you couldn't move a JPEG from a PC to a Mac. It just didn't work. And it was really frustrating. Imagine that now, if every website you went to had a different format for images. It's complicated. So yeah, interoperability between metaverses is very important. It's also very complicated because everybody's building their own systems, and each system has its own limitations and different variables. I think some points of interoperability will come from software, like Blender. Like all the metaverses seem to be using the same file formats in 3D, like GLB and GTLF, which is great. Decentraland actually helped fund the Blender Foundation because we really believe it's an important tool for all the metaverses. Yeah, and it's going to be super important. I don't want to hog the stage.
Well, yeah, I think definitely it's like one of the key points to have this interoperability for the metaverse to be really open and having the possibility, we as users, to move from one place to the other with the minimum frictions that we can have. I think right now we have several different like individual or single platforms, and we're still missing somehow like the browser of the metaverse, or a way at least to move seamlessly from one to the other.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's really important for sure. We are building connections with lots of platforms. We are having lots of conversations about interoperability. I think that it will be scaling like every month. I think that it will be, there will be lots of levels of interoperability, but I think that the first one will be like only linking through inside links inside the platform. It will be, I think, really easy to do. So we can go from Utopian to Decentraland from Utopian with just one link. And we are working also in a single sign-on solution that will get you only to sign up in one platform, and with these details you will be able to sign up in other platforms, which you have the interoperability. So this is something that is important, and also it will come the possibilities with the blockchain. I think that Kai can speak about this like for hours, and this is really important also regarding the blockchain. There will be lots of possibilities of interoperability also for the items, the NFTs that you can use in lots of platforms. For sure that his solution is amazing in this way. Maybe you can talk about something a little bit from that.
And if I may ask, so the three of you have said it's very important. And why is it important?
Because you want to make a seamless journey between, like, I don't like the word metaverse, first of all. It's a very hype word at the moment, but in virtual worlds, you want to be able to go from one to the other and keep your digital identity and keep your expression. So perhaps your avatar wears a certain outfit or has a certain look, and you want that look to go into every single metaverse. That's what users want. So from a user point of view, it's very, very important.
So entering a bit to one of the things you said, now you're working on a single sign-on solution, which is one same user for all of the platforms, from my understand. And so the idea there is, would that solve, because it could mean that you have just a single sign-on that has different characteristics in every platform, no?
I think this is part of the problem, actually. Like, the layers that have been built in the past aren't being given the attention they deserve, and so people are coming along and building new layers that aren't compatible with the old layers. Actually, what Decentraland does is we're building a protocol for the metaverse. Anybody can fork it, anybody can make their own version, and that's true interoperability, like a protocol for the metaverse, just like HTML for the internet. Like the Decentraland everyone knows, the platform, the Explorer, that's just the first version of Decentraland. But in truth, anybody can build their own Decentraland, and then every version of Decentraland will be interoperable.
Yeah, in addition to this, I think, as you say, like protocols and open standards are one of the first steps to go in this direction. I think it's a little bit complicated because it's true that there are different entities developing different standards at the same time. I think that just like in internet, there will be a time where the market will quite force to establish some standard, even if it's not the best one, but at least it's a first approach that everybody can start to work with. But definitely for me, the standards and is one of the first layers, I would say. And coming back to what you were saying about the single sign-on, And the different type of interoperability, at the end there is things related to the visual aspect of it, the fact that every platform have a different look and feel or style, so that's one part, but then the other, and for me that's the real interoperability, is the possibility of moving yourself as an identity or your assets from one place to the other and really be the owner of your assets and not being depending on the platform where you acquire these assets from.
Mm-hmm. So one of the questions we had for today is, for the metaverse interoperability, what are the software and infrastructure challenges that we could find? Like, what should we build? What are we missing? Or which infrastructure are we missing?
So, for example, regarding the mobile devices, that I think it's really important to have a platform that is accessible through mobile. This is something that is still really limited because the graphics and the motor also is like a little bit. It doesn't. It's not possible to run big graphics. So this would be like a limitation, and also connectivity. It's supposed to the 5G is supposed to put this like in a no problem situation, but I don't know. Maybe the real problem is that companies start talking and get to an understanding. I think that this is the main challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the main challenge is collaboration. Mm-hmm. What we see with NFTs is NFTs are already interoperable. So any NFT can be visualized inside Decentraland as well as other metaverses. We actually helped write the NFT standard in 2017. So, we were part of that movement. And in the early days, everyone worked much more closely together and used the tools that were there. So the NFT just propagated all the metaverses. Whereas now, people are starting to diverge and go off into their own technologies, which, again, makes it complicated for the end user in time.
Yeah, totally agreeing with this, what you were saying. Something to add up to what I was saying before is also that not all the platforms are working on blockchain, so that's the next thing. So I don't know until which point we need to look for interoperability between Web 2 and Web 3 on certain aspects, and the possibility of moving yourself from a virtual platform that is in traditional web to one that have blockchain in it too. And then also, again, interoperability between chains. That's something that it's been explored already, and there are some part solutions. But I think there are a lot of challenges, and as you say, collaboration is the main one. So we need to sit down together, everybody, and try to look at least for a minimal option that everybody can agree.
So if I understand it right, then you guys, one of the common things that the three of you are bringing up is, well, agreeing, no? Like we said, I asked for software and infrastructure, but clearly those are another challenges because you guys have built amazing platforms already, so you feel like I'll just go for it and I'll do it. No, that's fine. But then we have an extra challenge, which is like agreeing, no, and working together. One of the advantages and disadvantages of democratizing anything and letting people choose is that they will have their own opinion and therefore build their own version. Right? So do you guys think there is any way in which we could decide to agree? Like, is there any interest in deciding to agree?
We have a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which means the community directs the way the platform goes and guides it. So if the community sees something in another platform that they want to bring into Decentraland, they can make a proposal to the DAO, the community vote on it, and then we as the foundation will implement it. So hopefully, bringing the community into the decision-making process helps the whole ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. So if I understand then, the solution was, instead of letting the people change Decentraland, it was creating a voting system, and then Decentraland would evolve based on the decision that was made by the community.
Exactly.
Right? Would that work between different platforms? You guys think we could create an overall voting organization?
I think different platforms need to talk, like the CEOs all need to get together and kind of like work on a true vision, but the beauty of having the community direct our platform means that they're all out there looking at all the other metaverses and bringing back what they like and what they don't like. So we get insight into that.
But this is actually a good idea. It will be like a DAO, a Metaverse DAO. This is actually a good concept. But I think that the real difficulty here is for the main platforms, the big players. You know, when they come to market and when they start doing business, like you know, Meta, Microsoft, and these guys. I don't know if they are willing to be interoperable, and let's see what they are offering to the market. So this is really important because we are talking about completely centralized platforms against completely decentralized platforms. So we have to meet in the halfway. So this is really the main challenge here.
Mm-hmm. I think just to add to that, sorry, a lot of the Web2 companies, they've created walled gardens so that everything that exists in their ecosystem only exists in their ecosystem. And this is how they've become very wealthy companies. It's going to be very hard for them to change their business model to a Web3 open metaverse. But what people like us are trying to do is give people a choice between the business model of Web2, where you are the product and your data is sold, so everything is free, or a new model of an open metaverse where you control the platform.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, like, I mean, even though I'm really a supporter of free software and decentralization and everything, I think there is a point where, like, closed, or I would say, well, yeah, closed platforms and open platforms can still live together. Like, in internet, you have everything, right? You have different projects, and each one of them have a different nature. So I think that can be the same in Metaverse. So it's not an obligation to be, like, we need open standards. So once the standard is set up, I think there can be closed platforms and open platforms living together and probably co-living at the same space.
Mm-hmm. And there's an aspect here that I've always wondered, no? That there is one very centralized company building everything in advance for then others to be able to properly distribute and share the ownership of that, no? So how is that company then going to be supported through this process, no? Because what you're mentioning here, Microsoft is going to have a super hard time switching the model because they're used to, and their whole system is built based on the fact that they are the only owners, no? So in this case, where we open source all of our platform and we offer everybody the possibility of participating in the decision making, there's still going to have to be a company that decides, okay, now we have to operate this and actually execute what the community has decided, which is one person with a salary and has to be there, right? So how is that model designed?
It's not simple, but we set up a foundation, which is who I work for, and that's a non-profit organization that has funding for the next 10 to 20 years. But if you think about writing a protocol like HTML and like the internet, there's no company behind that. They just gave it to the world, and an army of developers all around the world said, hey, this is really interesting, let's work on it. And now we have the internet. So it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally agree with what he's saying. Nothing to add up.
Nothing more to do.
Great. So the next part. So how do you guys think the interoperability will work for the user? Like, me as imagine, well, not in my case, I'm quite techie, but let's say someone who's zero techie and just wants to get into this for the first time. How seamless is that experience going to be? Like, how do you see it in, let's say, in 2 years' time?
Let's talk about now, because we have features now that help with interoperability. First of all, like I said, any NFT can be visualized in Decentraland. So any NFT from any platform, ERC 271, ERC 115, everything. But we also have, like I said, the 3D models, GLB, GTLF, and we've just released a feature which means that any, it's called third-party wearables. So any wearable from another platform can now be visualized inside Decentraland by a feature that we've we've written. So even though our limitations are different to other people's, we can link those wearables to external NFTs so people can continue their identity in our platform.
And also there are, user cases like really easy to understand. For example, maybe you can link your Zoom platform, your Spotify, this is something that, your YouTube account, this is something that is really easy now, and it's a big option of interoperability between, Web 2 and Web 3, or Metaverse. So regarding how you will see it like in 2 years, it's maybe difficult to know, but I think that today we have really big options now regarding interoperability. So I think that it will grow in terms of communication between platforms, also taking your items between one to another platform. The one you purchased in Decentraland, maybe you can use it also with our look and feel in our platform, and it will change the look and feel between platforms from a pixel one to a voxel one to a polygon one. This is something really also easy to see in the near future.
I'd just like to pick up on a point there. Like, the Web 2 companies are important in this as well. But you mentioned YouTube. Now, YouTube is not interoperable. They put cores in between streaming from YouTube, so you can't stream to other platforms. So in Decentraland, you can't stream YouTube, but you can stream Vimeo, because they take that and they allow you to do that. So we need the support of Web 2 companies too.
Yeah, so that's interesting, actually. So Web 2 companies will have a presence in Web 3, of course.
Yeah.
And you should be able to use those services as well.
Exactly.
In
People
Web
are calling it Web 2.5 at the moment.
So, okay. So when it comes to a new person coming in, let's say we have people here in the audience who are thinking, I'd like to build a design agency, for example. I want to work in the Metaverse. And of course, right now they have to choose one of the platforms and then decide to build for that platform. But that's something that, or at least not for all platforms, right? Like there's a little bit of discussion of today. So how do you guys imagine people becoming entrepreneurs in the Metaverse? Like, how do you guys imagine a company starting right away within the Metaverse and then being part of one of your platforms and just making money within your company?
So we have a lot of funding available. Part of our DAO is we have I think $500 million to give away to creators. We've been funding and nurturing creators for the last 4 years. There's a company in Spain called Polygonal Mind who build for all metaverses, and we've given them funding and helped them grow. I mean, Web3 is really easy to get into right now. It's so open and it's so new and pioneering that you can jump in and just kind of get your hands dirty, and there's so many different aspects to it as well. Like, you can be a builder, you can be a developer, coder. You could also, there's people who make a living going into Decentraland and streaming to other platforms. So it's kind of reinventing the whole world. Everything that has happened before is now possible in Web3, but it's not tied up. There's this window of opportunity to change things and to be part of it.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think that we are on the early stage, so that's the perfect moment to start to try a lot of different things. There are a lot of challenges out there, so it's good to have a lot of different people trying at the same time, and we're still on that point where we can do mistakes, go back and try again. So for me, that's one of the most interesting parts of this space. Now that it's getting maybe, well, I don't know, but since some years I feel that all this space is starting to be a little bit more mainstream, even if we don't have that much users still maybe on the space. But I think it's the perfect time to test a lot of things that maybe 8 years ago it was complicated to do. And on the other hand, in reference with what you were saying before, I think there is quite big steps on this sense, but I think the user experience is another of the big challenges that we have, especially for the integration of new users. That might change with the new generations, but I think that's still one of the biggest challenges that we have there, is just in reference to the question you did before.
Yeah, so I think that people won't enter the metaverse only through one platform. It's the same as social media platforms. You don't only have one, you have like plenty of them. So it depends on the community or on the community-based metaverse you are willing for. No? So this is something that will distinguish each platform. I think that the main thing that is the difference in the metaverse will be the communities that are built there. No, for example, you can be like a generalized general community, or maybe you can be centralized in some aspect or in some specialty. No, so this is something important. The community is one of the main opportunities, and this is something that you will you will go for one or another, but maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of them. This is something really important. It doesn't have to be like only one.
And then, okay, so the teams that are developing this metaverses, no? I understood your answer perfectly, no? If you're able to build a foundation with proper economical foundation, then yes, then of course you can support the development of this platform very, very well, no? But I would like to probably maybe ask you also, the two of you, which is, how do you mix the two concepts of having to have one company that has to have funding and a business model for it to run and have developers, build the metaverse, and then share it completely? So how does that, especially if you're going to end up interconnecting with open source platforms, therefore something that's created in your platform could just be moved out to another platform. How does that feel from I'm an entrepreneur as well, right? So from an entrepreneur perspective, someone else is getting the value of something that I've worked on, which I could be okay with, but I need to at least make sure that I can pay my debt or pay my corresponding employees, right? So how do you guys see that interconnection to other platforms?
On our case, we are heading to some sort of DAO too. I think all these systems are really interesting. Maybe it's still, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still on the early moments of it, so it's not really fully decentralized in some cases, a DAO, so there is still even some regulations and limitations. So, but I think, I don't know, I think it's not something new, like since the very beginning of open software or free software, there have been, in some cases, foundations or federations, associations, however you want to call it, or even companies who are running a project and it's open source. So for me, the fact of being open source, for example, or share the code or share the experience with different developers is not directly related to losing value of the company or to putting too much value on the other hand. So I think it's just a way of moving or a way of advancing.
So our platform that is based on creating content and real content in a virtual world, this is something that is one of our main goals. I think that we'll give all the technical building platform so that the users will be able to create their own spaces really easy. So I think that this is not an issue. I think that it will be like really easy, but we will fund the creators more. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Great. This was our time up, so thank you very much to the three of you. It was an amazing experience to have this conversation fully develop it. Great to have, thank you for coming, and we'll see you around.